Hello, Mr. Sato is back, and the break actually has reason behind it this time. So, I wanted to start watching some new anime, and that time I got reincarnated as a slime came to mind. As I've never watched it, I've only seen it like on Crunchyroll, like every time I'm scrolling through Crunchyroll or something. And I also wanted to give you guys some new material, not just the same Naruto what ifs or Dragon Ball Z what ifs. So I finished it. It took me quite a while balancing school and my other shows, and just I like to watch YouTube a lot. So yeah, it took me a while to finish the series, but I got it done. And this what if I'm not sure how I can make this possible, so I'm not really gonna care. Just like I didn't with the editing, so the it's gonna look really messy and not as refined as my other ones. You'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, I'm in New York, by the way. So yeah, feeling good, feeling good. Oh, and this what if is what if Rimuru was a hybrid slime thing. So his hybrid is a slime, ogre, and beast. The beastkins. I forgot what they're called. They're like beast something. So yeah, and so we're doing the time skip straight to when after he dies. So Rimuru as a slime, as this hybrid, he already had the ability to assume a body. It's not a human body, but it's an ogre body, and it looks relatively similar to the body he has in the original. And Rimuru would go around eating random plants like the ones he ate in the original, be able to create healing potions. And he would also eat those crystals that he found. But since he has his ogre body, he's a lot taller in his ogre form than he was in his human form in the original, being the same height as his demon lord human form, if that makes sense. And without making use of his predator skill just yet, he solely relied on his own power and the great sage's analyzing abilities and sometimes the autopilot mode. As in this time, he actually makes use of the autopilot mode a lot more. But soon, he would start using his predator ability. Not yet, though. And one time while roaming around, Rimuru saw a white flash dash straight past him. He couldn't see clearly what it was, but it was obviously a four-legged beast of some kind, being the four-legged beast you see on the screen. But this was the only glimpse he had caught of it, and he never really seen it again after that. And yes, I know this isn't Veldora, but I thought it looked pretty cool, and I couldn't find any good pictures of Veldora because all of them were either like really choppy or they had some part of his body cut out. I don't know why. But eventually Rimuru would stumble upon Veldora. He would become friends with Veldora and they would talk for a while. But instead of getting the idea to break the seal at that exact moment, Rimuru actually assumes his ogre form and walks out of the cave as he has found the exit a while ago. And as he's walking, he notices some torn cloth on the side of the road, and he would catch it before it drifted away. He would use it to cover his body, as he had no clothes, and he had a horn through his head, and he would go into a nearby town. This town would have been suspicious of him at first, as he was literally covering his whole body, but their suspicions just disappeared as they realized he was naked under the cloth. So their first priority was to get him some clothes. Oh, and I forgot to say that Rimuru and Veldora had named each other already. So Rimuru went from ogre to Kijin. Forgot to add that. So now yeah. And these are the clothes that he gained from the town. But once they realized he wasn't wearing his cloth anymore, they seen that he was a Kijin. So they would then chase him out of town. Rimuru would just barely escape this, and he would return to the cave. Rimuru would return back to Veldora, and Veldora at first would be confused, as he didn't notice Rimuru until looking fairly close. He had been surprised at the changes in body structure, as he seemed more human. And Rimuru would explain that after they named each other, he evolved into a Kijin. And Veldora, looking more intently at the way he looks, he would realize that this statement is true. Rimuru would then assume his slime form, and they would think of the plan of helping Veldora escape. And they would put the plan into action. So Rimuru would end up eating Veldora, gaining his black lightning ability and the ability to sprout wings. But he can't do that just yet. Other abilities that he has is he can use his fangs if he wants to. That comes from the beast side of him, more or less. He can also, use his wolf hands, I guess. I mean, not wolf hands. What's a good a panther, because the tail. Well, that's supposed to be a tail. I don't know if it actually is, but it's supposed to be. So, I'm going to assume his beast side of him is a panther. And I just dropped my phone. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm really tired. I'm not going to sleep after this. Upon leaving the cave for the final time, he would run upon 3 adventurers, and they would walk straight past him. But the girl would get an eerie feeling, and this was Rimuru's aura, but he was already gone by the time she had decided to turn around. And upon Rimuru's departure from the cave, he would find himself amongst the goblins. These goblins were obviously terrified of him, shaking and trembling. And he noticed their armor was pretty weak. They would then all bow to him before asking for his assistance. Rimuru, being a pretty nice guy, would nod his head yeah, as he finds no use for words at the moment. And he's in his human form, of course. So he would walk with the goblins back to their homeland, or village. He would then talk to their elder, and he would ask him what his name was. But the elder would tell him that monsters don't have names, as it is more of a human thing than it is for monsters. We just address each other as the animals we are, or monsters we are. And Rimuru would take this into thought before asking the great sage if he could give them names. The great sage would simply just reply with a yes. And Rimuru would consider this thought, but he would leave it from his he would make it leave from his head, as he doesn't plan on staying here long. Rimuru would then be asked by the goblins if he could help their wounded, and he would help their wounded as he did in the original. Then he would tell them that they're gonna need some better defenses, and they would have a group get started on their defenses while another group goes out hunting. Rimuru would stay back with the group that was gonna start working on the defenses. While the hunting group went out, they stumbled upon a pack of direwolves. The alpha isn't there yet. Not a pack, it's like a small group of the direwolves. They would begin to start wounding all the goblins. And the goblins would start screaming for help. Rimuru would then hear their screams for help and run over there as fast as he could. Rimuru was fairly fast, so he got there in pretty much no time. And he would kick one of the direwolves, sending it flying into a tree. He would then pull out his sword and start defending the goblins. Not attacking the direwolves directly, just defending if they try to attack the goblins. He would tell the goblins to retreat as they would start running back to the village, and Rimuru, with a swift swipe, would finish off the other direwolves. He would then return back, and they would finish fortifying the defenses. Rimuru would look at their beat-up weapons and realize that they're all worn down, and he would have the Great Sage analyze them. The analyzing was complete in pretty much no time, so Rimuru would then assume his slime form and eat their weapons before spitting out new, fully refined ones. They weren't too much better, but they were a big they weren't too good, but they were a big improvement from the weapons they were using just before. And then a howl could be heard. This was the alpha of the direwolves, and he was getting ready to attack them like he did in the original. Rimuru, wanting to be ready for this attack, he would name Rigurd and the Rigurd. Rigurd being the village elder, if you remember, and then Rigurd being his son, I believe. Yeah, son. So, after he would name them, he only named these two, as he found them most important for his plans. He was gonna have people with long swords guarding the gates, so they can stab through the gate and kill off as many direwolves as they can. And Rigurd was gonna lead that group. Now, the archers were gonna be led by Rigurd, and they would set their plan into motion. Oh, and I hope you like what I did there with the horn. Yeah, I'm just so good with edits. Rimuru would watch as the direwolves would be getting slaughtered. But little by little, the direwolves began to get closer, and some of them began to actually bite the goblins. So Rimuru would jump over the gate before starting to combat the direwolf himself, as he's much more of a fighter due to the Kijin side of him and the beast side. And from this beast side, the wolves are actually have a little more respect for him, since he is not purely just a slime or purely just a Kijin. Because either way, they would still probably not like him. But since he's a beast, they can feel some kind of connection to him in a way. But then he would stop as he would see the alpha of the direwolves come forth, wanting to challenge him by himself. Now Rimuru still has all his abilities in the original time, and he actually has more than just a water spell. Well, just than the water slice spell, or whatever, the water blade spell I think it was. I forgot what it's called, but I'm gonna call it water blade. But just like in the original, when the alpha lunged at him, he would use his sticky thread. Or no, it was the strong one of his threads, okay? I forgot which kind it was. To decapitate the okay, yeah, I remember. He used his sticky thread to trap the alpha in midair, and then he used his water blade attack to cut off his head. He would then walk up to the alpha, placing his hand on his dead body and using the predator ability. From then on, he would then mimic the alpha like he did in the original and use the menace ability, making all of the direwolves submit to him. From here, he would then name all the direwolves and all the goblins. And like in the original, he got knocked out. Well, he passed out, rather, and woke up after 3 days. And after the 3 days, he would be face to face with a large wolf. It had a star on its head and a horn. He would look at the wolf before sitting up, asking him who he was, as he couldn't even recognize him. The wolf would then say, hold on, wait, what was his name? Ranga, the wolf would say. And he would begin to tell Rimuru how he had become a tempest wolf from the name he had gave him. And Rimuru would be delighted to hear that, as this would broaden his arsenal and make him a lot stronger. He would sit up and his horn would then touch the horn of Ranga's, and Ranga would make a comment on how now they're more alike, but Rimuru would ignore it for the time being. Rimuru would then walk outside of the hut he was in, and he would look around to see that they had failed at even building a house, which kind of upset him. And he doesn't know how to build a house either, so it's not like he can help. He would then be met by Gopta, the puniest of all the goblins, for the moment at least. So Rimuru would look at Gopta, and Gopta would stare at Rimuru. Gopta would then talk about how they're going to need more supplies and better building materials if they're going to be able to build these houses. And Rimuru would look around to see what materials they had, just in case if they were literally only just bad at building houses. Rimuru would then nod his head, as he would also say, you're going to need people that know how to build houses, because you guys don't have this under control. He would laugh at this, and Gopta would kind of get a little frustrated, but he would end up just brushing it off. Gopta would also add that their hunting force could use a bit more power, as they almost lost the dinner for the night. It was too fast for them, and it could tank a lot of attacks, but they were able to get it with a bow. but we might not get so lucky next time, Gapto would say. And Rimuru would take this into consideration, as an idea would pop off in his head, and he would return to the mountain he was born into, I guess. Yeah. After bouncing around the cave walls, looking for something, he saw a mound of crystals, and he thought he might as well eat it. He walked up to it and grabbed it, as he would then hear a loud roar. He would look down to see a large white wolf with a crystal mane and a crystal tail. He would jump back, drawing his sword, staring into the eyes of the beast. As he would then turn, he would use his menace ability to overpower the beast. But the beast wouldn't go down so easily. It would begin to shoot ice beams, ice shards at Rimuru, using the ability Ice Lance. Rimuru would use his sword to deflect the attacks before closing in, and his hand would then begin to spark with black lightning, as he would shoot a small amount of black lightning at the ice wolf, sending him flying into the cave wall. The ice wolf would then yield to Rimuru, and Rimuru would end up taking him as a subordinate. He would take him back to the village. Ranga would be pretty jealous that Rimuru had found another wolf partner, or subordinate. But Rimuru would reassure him that he's not going to replace him. They're going to be equals. And he would then decide to get the ice wolf a name. He would ponder upon it, and he would finally think of the name Callus. He doesn't know why, it just feels right to call him Callus. As he would then leave Callus so he could go to sleep, and Callus would go off. Callus would then start to evolve into something much bigger and much stronger, similar to how Ranga did. Well, that's where I'm going to leave this off. Hopefully you guys liked it. And I got this idea from what if Goku was Angel Saiyan hybrid, so kind of rooted from both. And my favorite monsters in the anime are the slime. Well, my favorite characters rather are Benimaru and Rimuru. And yeah, he's a slime, and Benimaru is a Kijin, so I just thought it made sense. Alright, Mr. Sato out.